Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening or good night. This is Jen at JensArtyInclinations, a place to create, share and play.
I've discovered that while I'm junk journaling, a lot of it is like a creative practice, and I think it helps us in all of our art, and it's a great place to also display all of our art. So I thought, what a fun, easy, beginner-friendly way to do creative exercises, improve our artistic confidence, and, refine your personal style, or find it if you haven't found it already. So I hope you'll join me, and, we'll just play about weekly-ish.
Hi everyone. I have today, I actually did these, a few weeks back now, and I'm finally getting around to doing the voice. But they're these little clusters that I just did these tiny little mini wonky drawings and, played about with some colour and some different things to, put them in journals. So you can use them in all different ways. Now, I decided that I'd use my waterproof ink and my pen nib to do the actual drawings. Now, this is a little wonky house. I love wonky drawings, and the wonky house is inspired by Tony Burt. She's a Queensland artist, and then I coloured them up the way that Tamara Laporte does hers. It was all sort of inspired by a recent online, free event that I was a part of, and looked at some of my work and kind of pulled together the ideas and decided I'd do them in a bit of a junk journal way. So this is like Tony's little wonky houses that she taught us how to do. And I thought doing it in the ink pen was a nice way to just get that uneven line. So as you can see, there's nothing about this that looks real. It's just a made up kind of house. So this is a kind of technique that anything that you used to draw when you were a kid, you can use in this kind of a technique. And the nice thing with the ink pen is it's easy to just go over it with a little bit of shadow and see how I'm just, darkening up those lines. So I'll just take you through, let you watch me kind of draw these in. So the first little one was, as I said, that's almost... Tony's house looked a lot better than mine, but that's the same kind of shape that she had with the smaller bit in the front and the bigger bit at the back. Anyway, here I'm just doing, flowers and vases like you used to kind of draw at school. So again, nothing too special. Now, I really love drawing in ink because it's sometimes really good to commit and to have all of the little mistakes in your piece. If you do some little hatch lines, like here I'm just doing straight lines for shadow. Sometimes just doing a little bit of a hint of what's there so you don't have to draw the whole thing. But yeah, using ink is sometimes good because then when you do make mistakes, you've got to kind of work with it. And with this technique, it doesn't matter what mistakes you make because you'll be able to work with them all in the end. I promise, it'll all just look fine. Okay, here I'm just doing a really simple tulip. It's a stylised tulip, little leaves, nothing big about it. And there's the grass. See, I've got to explain what it is that I'm doing just so, so that you know. And I must apologise in advance. The video kind of, it jumped about a bit. I obviously had it on the wrong setting. So sorry that sometimes you get a little bit of jumpiness and it was shining off the ink. Now, here I'm just doing a pattern. That's all that one is. And then I decided to do a bit of a weird window. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making it up as I go along. It was just the next thing I thought of, the next thing I thought of, the next thing I thought of. And if you get stuck, just look at what's on your desk. Draw a pencil, draw a ruler, draw anything like that you might have drawn when you're at school. Like simple house with a square for the main house, a triangle for the roof, the two windows and the door. We all drew houses like that when we're at school. All these sorts of things, they're just a nice way to add your own touch to your little piece. And as I said, you can pop them in a cluster. You don't even have to have it as the feature piece on your cluster. You can use them as little pockets. You can, do all sorts of things with them. So just a little tip when you're using your nib pen, if you want a thicker line or a darker line, you just press a little bit harder. And if you want a thin line, pressing lightly. So look, here I'm just whisking through the other little one that I did because I forgot to show a step in the first one. You know when you forget to turn your camera on, all of those of you who, do videos? Yeah, it was one of those times. So this colouring technique, as I said, it's a bit of Tamara Laporte, it's a bit of Tony Burt, that's little J Bear in the background. But really, I'm just splotching colour around. I'm kind of, in these ones, doing it a little bit close to the colours that I want. So you can see I did a little bit of green over the leaves. But, it's not realistic colour for me. It really is just going free and loose and throwing the colours in. So I find that really hard. I want to do what we did at school, to colour in between the lines and to, if it's a sky, it's blue. If it's the ground, it's brown or green for grass or, that sort of thing. So I'm trying to play about not doing that, but still having a little bit of against the outlines as well, because then that can make your image come forward. So yeah, I really am just playing and seeing what it's like. And then I thought, lots of blotching it up again, lots of adding colour back in if I feel it needs a little bit more definition. Yeah, so because they're small, it's really easy to just keep playing with it. And then if you don't like that one, a little giggler in the background there, if you don't like that one, you can go on to the next one. And using watercolours is great because then you can oftentimes just soak them up. Oh, now I'm going to laugh. All right, so yeah, that's all I'm doing here. So see how I've got I do have the red on beneath the vases there, but I've also got the other colours all kind of splotchy around them. So I was just showing you my Prismacolor pencils. I've got a little tin of those, but any coloured pencils are fine. It was Tamara Laporte that first taught me this, but we did a lot of that in Sketchbook Revival this year, the free online thing that happens each year. And doing colour pencils over watercolour is actually really cool. And sometimes it can help fix those little mistakes. Sometimes it gives it a lovely bit of texture. So I'm really enjoying adding coloured pencils. Not multimedia. What is it? Mixed media. Mixed media, such a fun way to play with our art. And junk journals, oh gosh, it lets us use so much mixed media, doesn't it? Now, this is just one of those water-soluble pencils that, it's basically like a watercolour pen, and like the Staedtler thingy bobs that they have, the what's it doodads? And I'm just using a water brush, so adding a little bit where I want some shadow and then using the water brush to just smudge out that pen. So that's the next step that, I missed filming on the first ones that I was drawing. And this is why I use the waterproof ink, because that way you can actually add water and add other mediums. Now, the way that Tony Burt did this was, and so then all I'm doing is just adding some little stamping over the top. And I feel like that makes it look really finished. But yeah, the way that Tony Burt did the shadows was actually having a water-soluble pen that she could smudge out. So look, there's those two little ones. You could make them a little tab on a page. You could pop them in a corner so that they're a little corner pocket like that, all sorts of different things. So here I am, and again I'm using a waterproof ink pad to add it over the top, and I'm just adding this really cheap text stamp over the top of the images I had, and I feel like that just makes them look a bit finished. Now, I just used black, but if you don't want it to look really black, you can make it grey. By Kylie at Kylie's Cardcraft taught me that if you stamp it off on another page and then stamp it onto your piece, you get like a shadow print. So here I am adding the pencil after I did the ink on this one, which is just as good. So it doesn't really matter which order you're doing most of this in. And again, because they're little small pieces that can just go on messy little clusters and things like that, it gives you a really great chance to actually have a play just doing little mini sketches. It does, J Bear, I promise, to do little mini sketches, to, practice, to just repeat something. And, the cost of it isn't too big. This is just on a torn off edge of coffee dyed paper that I had. So, even the paper isn't really perfectly wonderful, great paper or anything. So here I am just doing the shadow, and there's that little strip. And then I just tore them apart, and, that's when I've put them into clusters and things like that. So there they all are, kind of torn down. So look, really fun way to either practice your drawing, or it can also be a fun way to actually practice something else that you'd like to get better at. So thinking about them as a little focus piece on a little cluster, as opposed to a whole finished piece of art, which adds lots and lots of pressure. All I'm doing now is I'm just building up some little clusters. I decided I'd do a bit of a stamped background. I just had some different offcuts that were scraps on my desk. Then I just finished it off with the little pictures on top. And of course added some cheesecloth, because I love my cheesecloth. We know that I love my cheesecloth. And suddenly on here, like a cluster, they just look so much better, I think, than when, they're on their own. So here we go. I'll just go through them all, and here they are finished, and you'll notice I did do a little bit of sewing on the sewing machine. I just kind of went straight up on all of them, and I did some little separate individual pieces as well. These are great fun. They are amazing fun, and here they are, just as little pictures, because, that might be good on a little journal card or something. Draw your wonky drawings. And remember, the wonkier, the better. So the more childlike or the more wonky, the more it looks like that's how you're meant to be. Have a go. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.